if you're joining in, if you're just joining in, I would just do this very simple. Would be using the majorly using the private chat, or sorry, the chat to make comments or questions like as the class progresses. This is the web design class by EduStart, and yeah, I want you to stick with me on this one. It's not going to be, I'll try as much as possible to make it not too formal, so we could get something off of it. So I'll just check check the chats for the ground rules. Basically, if you're going to you know, make any comments, if you're going to ask a question, I would appreciate that all that will be done via the chat space. So we don't get interrupted as we go on. So, well, I think, I mean, okay, just to confirm, if you're hearing me, you could just send a message to the chat, just like a hi to the chat, so I know we have people on board. I haven't seen response from anyone. I hope I'm audible. Okay, so yeah, and the nature of basically, because this, especially this call, is going to be a 40-minute call, we might not be able to attend to like all questions or this thing right here. There's going to be a project after this class. Some people are still joining in. There's going to be a project after this class, and all conversations most likely is going to continue on the EduStart platform online. And I'm guessing for you to be here, you've already registered on the platform. So we'll be having a lot of our conversations within the week on that platform till, you know, our next class. Yeah, so I think I should just get into it. I can see Jamilola, Harold, and Grace. Mr. Steven too is here. So welcome everybody, and without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so you confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like I said, this is the web design class for absolute beginners. Okay. Now, yeah, this basically is supposed to be the course objectives majorly would be to, sorry, I need to move this a bit. Okay, hold on. I'm having a bit of technical issues here. Need to move things around. Okay. Please bear with me for a while. I'm trying to get this. Okay, just hold on. I think I'll view from here. It's quite difficult controlling the call and the presentation at the same time. So all right, let's just go with this. I think I can zoom this in this slide. Okay, let's work with this now. Now, for a start, the objectives of this course is to understand fundamental concepts, basically, in web design. Web design is a very trendy field, in this age. So, from a lot of things currently are being like a lot of jobs now need a lot of businesses need websites, and in turn, web designers or web developers are very much in demand. So yeah, this course basically is just aimed at helping you understand just the fundamentals of web design, from HTML elements, tags, attributes, all those you get to know as we proceed in the course. And also to learn how to work with web design frameworks to optimize our workflow. So yeah, yeah. One thing to note in programming is it gets very trying at times. It will get very frustrating, and the only thing that can keep you going at that point in time is passion. So yeah, whether your drive is making money off web design or you just naturally have this passion to do things, something has to keep you going when things start getting rough. So keep that in mind. I mean, as we go along. Yeah. Also, again, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, just leave them in the chat. I'll be observing that as we go. Now, let's find out first how the internet really works. I'm not going to go into a lot of technical details. Yeah, because a lot of people want to get into coding just immediately. So I recommended a course there, What is the Internet, by Khan Academy. So you could check that out. It gives a perspective also as to what other people think the internet is. A lot of people have this idea that the internet is a cloud, or I don't know. I don't know how responsible will be, but if we can maybe just type quickly what you think the internet is like. How does the internet appeal to you? What exactly do you see the internet as? If you can, I think you could just raise, like indicates your hand. Okay, I see someone. Dami?
Me? Okay. Get a variety of information and communicate with a lot of people from various parts of the world, and you get basically to get information. That's my own knowledge.
Okay.
Information. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so Dami is of the opinion that yeah, the internet is maybe like a place or something, but I think she majorly said to get information. Okay, if we have one more person before we continue, what's your idea of the internet? Okay, Harold is saying the internet is more like a community where you interconnect with different people and also get information from them. Yeah, okay. We are still in the lines of the internet being a communication tool, so to speak. Okay, so yeah, that being said, I'll ask one more question before we proceed. Where is the internet? Where do you think the internet is located? And in extension, who manages the internet? Like, you know, you could type you could type your answer, your responses in the chat, or you could just raise your hand. Yeah, like indicate, and I'll unmute you. Anyone? Where do you think the internet is? Harold? No one has an opinion. Dami, do you want to say something? Okay. Harold says he's not sure. Yeah, just whatever is whatever you have, just put it out there. I mean, some people have the notion that the internet is probably in US. I don't know how to put that, but yeah. But okay. I think we'll move on then. Yeah, so since we don't have another opinion, so now, but this course here, if you want to really get more insight as to what the internet is from the people that created the internet. Okay, Harold says, tell us your opinion. Well, yeah, basically, my opinion is going to come in the coming slides, literally. The internet is not centralized as opposed to what many people think. The internet, basically, I would show us a bit what that looks like in a bit. But the internet is not centralized. The internet really is not located in a particular place. In fact, the internet is not a place. I have a very a weird notion or opinion that the internet is simply a wire, a cable, if you put it that way. But let's look at that closely and then see how far. Okay, so what's the internet? The internet is an interconnection of devices for the sole purpose of communication, right? Dami, Lola, and Harold already mentioned that. So yes, for the sole purpose of communication. But we'll look at more things concerning that. The way the internet works, there are digital rules that are governing all processes on the internet. Like, for people to come together to communicate, you cannot allow that to happen without putting together some rules. So there are things called protocols that are put together for to govern basically every single thing that happens on the internet. When I mean every single thing, everything that happens on the internet, from the transfer of documents on the internet, even your email, there's a protocol that controls the transfer of mails from like one server to another server. And that's your simple mail transport protocol, that's SMTP. You have the HTTP, which is hypertext transfer protocol. That is a protocol that governs the transfer of text on the internet majorly. And if you listen to the names that are given to if you listen to the names that are given to these protocols, they are most likely self-explanatory. For instance, the simple mail transport protocol just simply refers to a protocol or a set of rules that govern the transfer of mails. A hypertext transfer protocol, a set of rules that govern the transfer of text, hypertext or text, basically. You look at FTP, file transfer protocol, a set of rules that govern the transfer of files over a network. So all these protocols like this, and then we have internet protocol in general. Internet protocol is also a set of rules that govern the internet as it is, or as it were. So yeah, now there are devices identified using unique addresses called Internet Protocol address. That's IP address. You must have heard about this. Each device that is connected to the internet has each device that is connected to the internet has to be identified, and that's why this set of numbers are always assigned to each device that is connected to the internet. Let's look at it more graphically and see. Now, say this is you, and right now this is you, seated in your office or in your home, and you're on your computer or on your phone. So this is just you and your folks. Now, what you have right now is a simple network. You want to communicate with your friend, as in you simply just want to share information with the person. Probably you want to send a file from your system to another person's system, right? So that's just both of you right there. And so if people get a cable, maybe an Ethernet cable, or the connection could be wireless, but I don't want to go into wireless connections now because I'm trying to make us look at the basic of the internet as a cable, as just a single connection or a simple connection. So both of you, connect to each other, and you're trying to share information. You're trying to share whether it's files, whether it's music, whether it's pictures. You connect to each other just to share that. And then now there is another set of people, somewhere in the US, and that's Google. Just some, just the way you and your, friend, or you and your sibling might be just sitting together with your systems connected together, and people just want to transfer files, you want to transfer movies together. We also have certain computers like that in Google, and they are just physical computers, physical systems, physical devices that are being connected together, and they too are sharing information with each other. That information could be media, it could be text, it could be anything, and they are connecting that just to share information with each other. And you and your siblings now want to get the information that is the people at Google are also sharing. But then realize that there is no link between both of you. Like there is nothing connecting two of you together. I mean, you can get your information, you can get data from like your sibling, because like, I mean, both of you, you're already connected together, so you can easily share that information. But then the issue comes when you are trying to get information from, say, one of the computers at Google, and you don't know how to do that. To actually do that, you would have to have a physical line, a physical cable connection between you and the folks at Google. So that connection has to be made. And when that connection is made, once you connect to that line, basically, or that connection between, different networks, is what we call the internet. And once you make a connection to the internet, you have to be identified. I mean, the only way Google would know to transfer information to you is if you have a unique address that you can just easily reference and say, okay, I'm sending this information to you, right, in your house or wherever. Now, that unique address looks something like this, and it is called the IP address. Now, you see how it's just it looks like a bunch of numbers. Yeah, that basically is the standard that is being used. Remember that the IP is just a protocol. IP is a set of rules that govern how the internet operates. So most of these things are quite technical, but then also we have Google trying to connect to that same internet, because for Google to be able to transfer information to you, it has to be connected to the same cable that you're connected to. If both of you are not connected, then there is no way you can get information from Google. So Google also assumes, is also assigned an IP address that looks something also like that. However, it would be very inconvenient if you had to access Google by typing 64.233.160.0. I mean, like, it's already enough trouble that we have to be memorizing phone numbers, and then you have something like that. Now, imagine having to memorize those set of numbers for all the websites you probably want to visit in this life. That's going to be something else. So, to solve that problem, that IP address is being assigned. You call it an alias or a domain name, google.com, which makes it very easy for you to just, talk to the Google, the computers at Google, or that network in Google, to be able to get information from them. So what I'm trying to portray here basically is just the how, first of all, how decentralized the internet is. Because in this scenario now imagine some other computers are also connected, like some other small networks are also connected like this on this green line. What will happen if some sort of, let's say, EMP or a fire outbreak, takes down the computers at Google? Does that mean that the internet is down? No, because as you would clearly see, there can still be communication along the line. So I would normally say that the internet is a technology that had a beginning. It has a beginning, like it started from somewhere, but most likely might not have an end, because to effectively destroy the internet, in quotes, you would most likely have to sever the connections at every single level. So all devices has to be destroyed, all cables, switches, routers, anything that is possible of is capable of connecting two devices together, or you could say an extension, two people together, has to be destroyed, which means life itself most likely has to be destroyed. So I would like to think that the internet is something that has it has a beginning, that it started somewhere, people trying to share information between each other, but most likely will not have an end, because it is decentralized and there is no one place, there is no one company, there is no one organization that is in control of the internet. So that being said, let's move to clients and servers. Now, there is because the internet is a place where you share information. Because the internet is a place where you share information, there is a tendency to you would always have someone that is requesting information, and then you would have another person that is receiving that information. That is giving out that information. So we have it's more like an architecture where one person makes a request and the other person is at the position of giving out that request. Think of the basic example we gave with Google. Whenever you're searching Google, you're making a request to Google servers, telling them, hey, I want to know how to make pancakes. And what they do is they're in the position to serve that information to you. So we have a client and server relationship existing on the internet. Now, you might ask, why am I bringing up this part of talking about the internet and everything? The thing is this: if you're going to be a web designer, your work basically is going to be writing documents that are going to be transmitted on the web. So if you don't understand how the internet works, then it's going to be most likely you'll be doing a gamble with yourself. So in case there is anything that is not clear, or listen, you could just easily just type your question or comments basically on the chat, and I will respond to it as we go along. So so there are two basic classes of devices. So basically, devices on the internet, devices that are connected to the internet. are divided into two. We have clients and then we have servers. Clients are the people that are requesting information, right? While the server is the device that is responding to that particular request. So if we go back to this diagram here of the internet, we can see that here Google servers or Google systems computers are acting as servers, while you here requesting information from Google, you are acting as the client. So now that is on top level. Drilling it down a bit, I want you to most likely picture clients as not just you now as a person, or your entire system, like your entire device, whether it's a phone, a mobile phone, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a desktop. I want you to picture clients, or place the focus on clients as your web browser. Yeah, just your web browser. Now, why do I say, why am I referring to a client as just your web browser? Because on the internet, your music player does not make a request to, to the servers. Your music player does not make a request to make a request on the internet. Microsoft Word does not make a request. All this I'm saying essentially, actually, there are some cases where they actually do make such requests, but essentially, those applications that exist on your system or your device don't make requests to the server, so they cannot really be called clients, because we defined a client as a device. Yeah, I said device, but yeah, they could be applications, they could be hardware or software. Now, a device that requests information, right? So that's on the internet now. So if we look at it critically, the only application majorly that makes a request for information is actually your web browser. That is where you actually type in google.com, you click enter, and then you get a response from Google servers. So think of, for the purpose of the entire course that we are going to be going through, think of clients as your web browser. Right. So let's go on to looking at something here. Web page versus website. Now, yes, I know I've already, it's already outlined on the slide, but I would still like to get or I think we should just stop here. I would like to get your feedback. What exactly do you think a web page is? Like, I already gave, the slide was already up, but try as much as possible not to use what you may have seen on the slide. What do you think a web page is? We currently have, okay, anyone wants to say something? Do we have anyone? Okay, someone just joined us. Esther Salami. Okay, anyone? Olumide. You could text your responses to the chat, or you could just raise your hand and I would unmute you. Damilola. Okay. Damilola said it is a single entity but connected to the World Wide Web. I'm guessing that's what you mean there, www. So yeah, referring to a web page as a single entity. Okay. Okay, that's good. Thank you for your response, Damilola. Anyone wants to add to that? Okay, she said, while websites are several web pages. Okay, interesting. Does anyone want to add to that? Esther Salami. Okay, Olumide says, when we talk about web page, it's a page that contains text and information, but it's single, okay? Multiple web pages forms websites. Okay, interesting. Thanks for that contribution, Olumide. Harold says, a web page, in my opinion, is a document that contains links to the web. Okay, I think that is quite interesting. A web page is a document that contains links to the web. So I'm guessing, okay, that's quite interesting. So okay, like we have these different opinions, all of which are very, very correct. You know, a web page is basically just a single page, right? And at this point, I'm actually going to just pull up a sample web page, so we just see what that looks like. So a web page basically is a single page, yeah, or a single document. I would more accurately say a single document. It could contain text, it could contain media, or contain links. Now, trust me, this document is basically it could, like, I mean, it's just like any other document, like a Word document or a regular text document. But yeah, it is just a single document. While a website just refers to a collection of related web pages. Now, I highlighted that. Let's talk about that a bit. I highlighted related because a website, if you have a page from Google, a web page from Google, you have a web page from Bing.com, you have a web page from Facebook, you have a web page from maybe BellaNiger.com. Now, all those web pages combined together is not a website. Now, it could be, because I mean, someone could actually link them together and, you know, put them into one and make them a website. But essentially, a website is a collection of related web pages that are linked together, right? I don't, showing us, I think we should have a good knowledge, or have actually seen web pages before, but just for the benefit of the doubt, I would quickly show you I'll quickly show you what a web page would look like. Kindly confirm if you can see my screen. Can we all see my screen? Okay. Okay, awesome. Now, yeah, so just like we said, if we type in, you know, google.com, this is our browser making a request to Google servers to fetch the home page of Google's website or Google this thing. Now, this particular page, everything you're seeing here is a single web page. This is not the entire Google's website you're looking at. You are looking at just a single web page from what? Google.com. Now, remember I said a web page could contain, you know, we have here, a web page could contain an image, like you can see here. It could contain this, all these are images. We have an image here. we have an image here. It could contain text, right? So we are seeing text here. We are seeing text here. We are seeing text here. Now it could also contain links. Now, if you look at here, this particular link down here, this particular text right here is a link to another page. So if I click on it, it's going to take me to another web page. This right here is also another web page on the Google website. So that's basically what, yeah, that's basically it. That's a web page, and yeah, it's so basic. I don't I don't know what else to say about it, but yeah, that's just it. That's a web page, and we have a lot of other examples from Facebook to, you know, Amazon, or yeah, all that. But note essentially that a web page is a document, and what you're going to be doing as a web designer is creating web pages. Yes, you'll be building web pages and then collating all of them together to form a website. That is basically what you're going to be doing. That's basically your job, your job description as a web designer. So let's go back to our slide so we could wrap up quickly and then start coding immediately. I know a lot of people are already, you know, wondering when we're going to start coding. But yes, let's look at HTML. Now, this is the most, basically most important part of this class. So I would want you to pay rapt attention. So, yeah. Now, HTML basically means hypertext markup language. Now, I'm writing the full meaning of HTML, so you don't have to, how do I put it, you know, look like you don't know what you're doing when someone asks you, yeah, web designer, okay, so what's like the meaning of HTML? And you can't exactly say so. But most often than not, your day-to-day job, no, you will not be faced with the task of finding out whether or not HTML means hypertext markup language or hypertext mess-up language. You would be building pages with HTML. Now, yeah, first thing I like clearing up with HTML is this. How do I put this? You are not necessarily a full program. I don't know how to put it down. Let me get, yeah. My opinion though, but yes, you are not a programmer yet if you know, HTML is all you know. But if it helps, you are a coder, which means you write codes, and HTML is a language, not a programming language. Please don't make that mistake. HTML is not a programming language. HTML rather is a markup language. Now, yeah, that still sounds like another grammar to put add to the mix, but the difference is this: a programming language more often than not instructs the computer, right, on what to do. Now, this instruction could be telling the computer to shut down. It could be telling the computer to boot up, like, you know, normal shutdown and boot up process. It could be telling the computer to play a particular file, to download the file, to, you know, even to set a timer, to set an alarm. Now, it could be anything, trust me. That is a programming language. It is a language that instructs the computer on what to do, majorly. And some of the characteristics of a programming language would be that it has a control flow. In fact, that is like the that's the core. That's a major functionality of programming languages, a control flow. And the control flow is basically like what you use to be able to tell the computer how to make decisions, right? But that is not what this class is about. I just had to bring that in so that you understand why I'm saying HTML cannot be a programming language. That's because HTML does not have a yeah, Harold says, yeah, Harold is asking, is it like a flow chart? Now, if the reference you're making, is it programming language as a flowchart or HTML as a flowchart? Harold. You could talk. I'll just unmute your mic. Okay, the programming language. No, a flowchart basically is, think of a flowchart as just a document that outlines your thought process. A programming language is not like a flowchart. However, a programming language can be used to implement, what you have on a flowchart, basically. Like a flowchart, think of a flowchart as a plan, an architectural plan, right? Think of a flowchart as an architectural plan. Everything could be. Yes, I know. Okay, yeah, okay. Said I mentioned control flow. Now, the control flow I'm talking about is the control flow I'm talking about is things like conditional statements, if, if else, and things like that. Now, all those things are called control flows. Yes, it's similar to, the control flow you have in a flow chart, but it's not essentially a flow chart. A flow chart would basically outline the details, outline, steps to solving a problem graphically, while a programming language would implement those steps. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. A flowchart is basically used in the design process. A programming language is used in the implementation process, right? So that's like comparing an architectural plan with, actual building, putting blocks on the ground and your shovels and everything. A programming language is like the tools that you use, the shovel, the spades and trowels and the rest, while the architectural plan is merely just design, but a specification of what is to be built. So I don't know if that analogy helps, but yes, that's actually. However, HTML now, if HTML is not a programming language and it's a markup language, what exactly does it do? I mean, we said a programming language instructs the computer on what to do. And HTML, as we see it, operates only on the client, which is your web browser, if you can remember in our previous slide that we define clients to be. What does that mean HTML would do? HTML would only specify what a content on a page would look like. Sorry, not what it would look like, what it is. Please, it's very important to understand that. HTML only specifies what a content on a web page is. It is now left to the browser, right, to, decide, right, how it's going to display that content, right? So quickly, just to make this a little bit clear, I will just quickly show you a snippet of a website, so we can just look at that briefly. Now, if you look at, I hope you can see my screen though. Okay. So if you look at this website, right, or this web page is built with HTML, right? Now, HTML did not, determine where this search field was going to be placed. It did not determine where this, Google search button was going to be placed. It did not even determine how the button is going to look like. Now, if just to make it more clear, I'm going to show you what this Google's homepage looks like with just HTML. So you realize that HTML is just merely a skeleton of, the whole of like your web page. So what I will do now is I'm going to try to disable all the styles that's associated with this web page. So I just delete all these style tags. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you what, this page looks like without like just raw HTML, nothing else attached to it, just raw HTML. So I think that should be all of it. I still see some styles though. Okay, that might not be all the styles. I still feel like there's yes, I still feel like there's some styles shits hiding. But yeah, so basically that's that should be it. This okay, I think I still have a couple of styles here. Yeah, I still have a couple of styles existing here. But let's okay, let's not look at that now. But so far we can see what do we have here? Oops, sorry about that. But yeah, basically what you can notice as I was deleting the styles is that you notice that a couple of things started going, weren't looking as pretty as they were before. As I was deleting all the styles, like you could see, things are becoming very crude. It's lacking positioning, it's lacking a lot of things. But as you keep on deleting all the styles, if I successfully get rid of all the styles on this page, you will just realize that HTML is what you're just going to be left with is just, pure bare bones, nothing, just, an ugly looking site with, everything probably aligned to the left and stuff like that. But yes, that's to show you that HTML is just a structure. It's a markup language. It's informing the browser what elements the browser is dealing with. The browser is now the one making the decision whether to, show that element as a button so that the user can click on it, show it as a link, or display it as an image, or, whatever other things that you can, put up there. So bear with me, we are almost, getting through with this. The current version of HTML5 of HTML is version 5. There has been version 4, there's been XHTML, but trust me, you really don't, except you're a fan of history, you really don't have to know about all that, because HTML5 is supported in like almost all mainstream browsers, not almost all mainstream browsers actually. So yeah, just a recap, HTML only defines what a content is. It is left for the browser to decide how it wants to display that content. This definition is really going to help us moving forward, because when we get into CSS, cascading style sheets, we will now see how we can tell the browser, or specify how the browser should display a particular content that HTML must have specified. But for now, we're stuck with HTML. HTML files, remember I said that a web page is a single document, and that document is written in HTML. The HTML files are saved with the .html extension, just like you have movie files or video files that are saved with .mp4, you have .mov, you have audio files with .mp3. If you have, you can, list them on and on. If you have, other examples, image files saved with .png, .jpg, .svg. You have Word documents that are saved with .docx. Similarly, a web page or a HTML document is saved with the extension .html. Yeah. Now, we'll just look at a top-down overview of HTML. Basically, if you know, or if you look at this overview and you know everything, not everything, you most likely might not know everything, but you know, you have a good understanding of this overview I'm about to show you, you're basically on your way to mastering HTML. Like, HTML is something you can actually learn in a day. So let's go. So we have HTML itself, HTML as the language, HTML as a markup language. HTML is composed of elements. Basically, every single thing that you write in HTML, every single thing in HTML is grouped as elements. They are all elements, right? And we'll soon see what an element looks like, and then probably write some code. So now, also, elements can be defined or modified by attributes. Just like, you know, you could have, say, my fingers, right? My fingers have attributes. Attributes of my fingers could be the height of my finger. It could be, you know, the thickness. That's, you know, it could be the color. You know, all those are attributes, and those things actually define what my fingers look like, right? So in the same vein, HTML is made up of elements that can be defined or modified by what? Attributes. That is the entire HTML. Like, I mean, I could stop right here and then you're now a master. Yeah, obviously not. But yeah, but basically having this top-down overview or top-down understanding of what HTML is, that's literally the whole language. Like, that's everything in HTML. For HTML, you just need to learn your elements, learn the different attributes you could use on an element, and you're good to go. Whether the element is an image, whether it is a text, you know, different things. But yeah, basically that's HTML. So can we start coding already? No, not yet. Just one more thing. The anatomy of an HTML element. Basically, this is the fundamental structure of an HTML element. An HTML element has what we call an open tag. You know, that's what you're seeing first. An open tag basically consists of these angular brackets and the tag name in between. That is the open tag. Then we have the content, right? And then we have a closing tag or a close tag. Note that difference between the open tag and the close tag is the slash, right? Backslash you're seeing there. That is basically that's the difference, right? While there are exceptions to this structure, yeah? While there are exceptions to this structure, this is the fundamental structure of any HTML element. It's basically a set of tags that encloses a content. So in case you're not getting, you know, if you have questions, please, I keep repeating, please just type them in the chat and I'll respond to it as we go. But yeah, the elements that defile, like, call them the rebels, but yeah, the elements that defile this particular structure, this HTML element structure, they are called self-closing elements. Now, those elements don't have a closing tag. We'll look at those elements in future, in the near future, actually. But for now, this is the basic structure of HTML elements, right? So now that we have that out of the way, we are this close to writing some code. And just look at a bit of, these are just HTML element examples and their tag names. So remember, with the structure, if we look at the paragraph tag, for instance, the paragraph element, P is the tag name, which means a paragraph element would look something like P, a content, and P as a close tag. I'm going to actually write that out so it's a lot clearer. Then we have heading tags, heading elements, we have formatting elements. And yeah, if you're feeling ambitious, I linked this document is going to be on the EduStart platform. In fact, that is where we are going to have bulk of our interactions, because this is just going to be a 40 minutes. This is just going to be a 40 minutes class, and we're already getting done with it. So after now, basically, you can drop your comments, you can drop your questions all on the EduStart platform. We'll be interacting there. I'm going to demonstrate this very soon. Now, this is what the HTML structure looks like, right? At this point, since we are almost rounding up, at this point, if you have your system with you, if you're watching this on a PC, on a laptop, or if you're watching it on a phone, but basically if you have access to a laptop right now, if you're running Windows, I want you to use the app Notepad. I'm going to type this. I'm going to type it out now. Notepad. So what you do is you check on the start menu, you click on your start menu, type Notepad and click it, right? So Notepad is a text editor, and text editors is what we use to write codes in programming. Text editors. Yeah, as we go further, probably on the EduStart platform, I'll do a short, I'll just do a short write-up on difference between a text editor, like a text editor, a plain text editor, and a rich text editor. A rich text editor, to just give you a very brief overview, a rich text editor, example, Microsoft Word. A plain text editor, example, Notepad. A plain text editor does not have any form of formatting. The text is plain, while a rich text editor adds a lot of formatting. So we don't use rich text editors for programming. We use plain text editors. And yeah, let's look a bit at what the HTML structure is like, so that I will do a brief demonstration, and then yeah, we'll proceed from there. Now, with the HTML structure, everything you're going to write in HTML has to be enclosed by the HTML element, right? So remember, we talked about elements, the basic structure of elements, and we said elements have the open tag, as you can see in the HTML elements. It has the close tag, as you can see here, and then it has content. In this case, the contents can be other elements. Take note of that. Then inside the HTML elements, we have two major elements. We have the head element and we have the body element. The head element contains things like the title of your web page, while the body element contains the actual web page content, right? So what I'm going to do now is, we've been talking a lot. So if you have your system with you, if you have your laptops with you, please get Notepad, or if you can, might not be right now, but later on, you probably get your hands on this editor, Visual Studio Code. For now, you can use Notepad. Notepad is installed in every Windows system. So go to your start menu, type Notepad, search for Notepad, and then open Notepad, and then let's write some HTML code. I'm going to switch my sharing now I'm going to switch my screen sharing to my text editor now. So before you start this is Visual Studio Code. This is like my default text editor. You could use anything. There are lots of text editors out there. There is Atom, there's Sublime Text. The list goes on and on. So, but quickly, what I'm going to do is we're going to create a simple web page, our very first web page. And yeah, hopefully this would make us web designers, right? So on my text editor, if you're using Notepad, all you just have to do is just start typing. Like, really, there is nothing there. So for me, I'll just double click. Double clicking already creates a new file. But instead of doing that, I'll just create a new file here. Now, you can name your file anything. I'm just going to name mine web page. Remember, you must always save your file with the extension .html. if you're using Notepad and you just open the fresh Notepad interface, you can, Control S right now, Control S right now to save. Pick any folder of your choice. Just create a folder, probably for this class preferably, and then type the name of the file and save it as .html. Please make sure it is saved as .html. If it is not saved as .html, it is not a HTML document and it will not be able to run on your browser. Now, if you've done that, you can locate that file. Right now, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to write something random, like literally going to write something random. Now, if I review this particular file, sorry, let me share this so that you can see my entire screen. Hold on. So let me know if you can see my screen. So hope everyone can see this right now. Okay, good, good. Now, this is that web page I just created. If you notice, if you look closely at this web page, you see it has the extension .html. And if if you have your notepad and you've already created this and you've saved it as .html, navigate to where you saved that particular file. You will notice that the icon of your default browser is going to show up on that page. Mine is not showing now because I've not set my default browser to open HTML files. But on a Windows system, you're going to notice that the icon of your default browser is already going to be showing on that file. If you double click it, we can see now that that text I wrote shows up, and this opens already in my browser, right? So you can try that and see how it goes. Now, what I'm going to do now is, instead of writing something random as I did before, I'm going to write the basic HTML structure. So we see what it looks like. So the HTML structure starts with HTML, the HTML element itself, right? The open and close tags. Now, inside the HTML, note, and please pay very close attention to all the tags, all the symbols. They are very important. Excuse me. They are very, very important. If you miss out, for instance, if I do this, this is wrong. Why? Because I'm writing two open tags. So for best practices, what I would always advise is, for every tag you open, please close the tag. So I opened the HTML tag, writing the HTML element, and I close it before you start writing anything, or before you start, including anything inside it. So inside the HTML tag now, there are two major elements. That's what you're writing now is the basic HTML structure. Every single web page you're going to write is going to have this basic structure. There are two major tags that are going to be inside. Two major elements, sorry. The first element is going to be the head element, right? The second element is going to be the body element. Now, the head element contains, and yes, don't mind the spaces. You can space your code anyhow you want to. Your text editor does not take into cognizance spaces. So yes, you can put in as many spaces or indents as you want to. Now, the head elements, as you can see, it represents a collection. My text editor actually gives me, a description of each element. So I'm going to, that's why I would advise you install Visual Studio Code, but you might not do that now, might be after the class. And I'm going to leave a link also to the MDN reference, so that will be helpful too. The head elements represent a collection of metadata for the document. Basically, what that means is everything you see here, let's use Google for instance, from this icon to this text, right? everything that you see defined up here is defined inside the head element, right? Everything that comes from here down to the end of the page is defined inside the body, right? So the head element contains information about that particular web page, right? For now, the only information that we are going to put for our sample web page right now is we are going to give it a title. The title here is the title. Right now, we've not specified the title, so it assumes the title of the document, which is webpage.html. If we go back to our code, and then we use the title elements, that is what we use to specify the title of a document. Note that the title element must always be in the head element. It should not be any other place, right? It should not be found in the body tag, in the body elements. It should not be found, outside the head elements. It should be within the confines of the head element. So, right, we're going to call this, I'm going to call this EduStart web design web page. It's a long name, but that's our title, or that's my preferred title. Feel free to give your web page whatever title you want to give it. But now that I'm done with that, Control S to save this, and I'm going to go back to my web page and reload the browser, that particular page. Now, once I reload, notice that the title of that page has changed to what we defined inside the title element, right? If I move this to the body tag, save that and go back to reload, it shows up, right? Because modern browsers, right? Modern browsers have been, they have a way of identifying the title tag wherever it is placed. However, it is not good practice. And for the duration of this course, and most likely for the entire of your career, please never put the title tag anywhere aside in between the head tags, the head elements. Your title tag must always sit here. Now, inside the body elements, that is all for the head elements. Inside the body elements, what I want us to do now is I'm going to use, normally we'll just write a random web page, a random content for our web page, but I want to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to use one of the HTML elements we, put up here. I'm going to use that. We're going to put that up. We're going to put that up inside this and see how we can actually write a paragraph element. So remember that I said following the anatomy of the HTML element, a paragraph element starts with the open tag, the tag name, which in this case for a paragraph element is P. You close the open tag, and yes, my editor automatically adds the closing tag to it, but the content will now be inside. So this is our first content. I save that. So notice that this is similar to the structure for our elements. The tag name, which is P, right, for the open and close tag, and then the content. That is what we are having here. So when I save that and I reload, we can see that that is what we are having there. Now, in the same vein, you can add a title tag. In this case, I will use the H1 title. The H1 is the largest heading you can have. Sorry, your heading tags, your heading elements. The H1 tag is the largest heading. So I'll just show a demonstration of what that looks like. Right. So we can see that it is printed out and the browser formats, because now remember I told you HTML only specifies what an element is. There is no place in our HTML code that we specified this heading to be this large, right? The only thing we told the browser was that this particular text, right, should be formatted as what? A H1 tag or a H1 element. So the browser, in its own discretion, right, if I'm going to put it that way, decides to format it this way. Notice that there is no color whatsoever. You know, there are no extra formattings. Basically, whatever formatting you are seeing here does not come from the HTML code, right? However, there are certain tags, like I indicated here. There are certain elements that are indicated as formatting elements. Now, these elements can be used to actually format, you know, the appearance of text on your HTML document. Let's try one of them and see what it looks like. So, for instance, we want to say we want content to be bold. We can easily wrap content. So we can say this, note that everything is inside this P tag, right? The paragraph tag, the paragraph element. And this is our first, we now wrap content inside a strong element. Now the strong element refers to what? Importance, seriousness, urgency. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to bolden that particular text. So let's save this and preview. So if you can notice that our content there is bold. Let's try another formatting tag. I'm going to use the emphasis tag, emphasis elements, right? The tag for that is EM. Now what this does is so this particular tag italicizes the text. So basically this is just what you're going to get is going to be, sorry, did I? Oh, okay. Okay, if you're following, let me just go over let me go over a couple of these things again. I think Damilola says you should slow a bit. So Dami, care to tell us where you're stuck at? So we could just do a recap so everyone could just be on the same page. Okay. Okay. I'll just do a rundown of everything again. Now, starting with the very first thing we type is what? HTML. We type the open tag for HTML. We type the closing tag for HTML.
I'm following. I stopped at this is our first content.
Okay, awesome. So yeah. Yeah, okay, so that's good then. So I'll still just do the recap either way. So for those that are still having issues, you just catch up, right? So HTML, all your code, every single thing you're going to write for a particular web page should always be enclosed in the HTML, within the HTML tags. Don't write codes outside the HTML tag, like something like this. It is going to work, but it is bad practice. So please don't do it. Yeah, so all your codes should fall within the HTML tag, and the HTML tag has the structure basically is going to be two elements. First element is the head element. Second is the body element. The head element contains metadata for your documents. Now that meta is just extra information about your documents. For instance, the title of the document, which is what we specified here. Now we don't remember I said everything in HTML is is built using elements. Every single thing in HTML is built using elements. So the title is specified using what? Elements. If I don't use the title tag here, right? If I take this out and I'm assuming that the browser will automatically understand that I mean title here. Let's see what happens in the browser. If I reload this, you see that this is still webpage.html, which means the browser does not recognize what I just typed as a title. Instead, it even recognized it as just a normal text in the body of the this thing. So elements are very important. So ensure that you wrap your title tag, your title, your website title, with the title elements. That would specify the elements, the title for that particular web page. Now, in your body tag, basically everything on your website, trust me, whether your website is as simple as this, right, or as complex as this, right, you know, every single thing that is here is inside the body tag. Every single thing that is here. If you want to see the source code for any web page, you can just right click on that particular web page and click view source. Yeah, now this is a lot to take in because this is quite advanced. There are a lot of scripts here, but yes, this basically is a source code for the whole page, and I wouldn't want us looking at this because it's going to begin to look like jargons, right? But let's do that for our own web page. That is simple enough, right? If we right click and click view page source, we see the HTML code for our page. Notice that this is exactly the same thing we wrote in our text editor here, right? So if you want to see the source code for any web page, you know, just right click on that web page and click what? View page source, and it would, you know, show you something like this, right? So let's add, we said H1 is the largest heading. In the same vein, H6 is the smallest heading. So everything in between, you know, are varying the sizes and importance. So if we type this the same way we typed H1, right? We have H6 as the open tag. We have our content, which can be anything. You know, in this case, we are just using text. And then we have H6 here as a closing tag, right? If we save this and then reload our page, you see that we have smallest heading text formatted as what? A very tiny heading, right? You can experiment with other heading, you know, levels, H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. We don't have H7 headings, please. It's just H1 to H6, with H1 being the largest heading and H6 being the smallest heading. So P is for paragraph. This is the paragraph element. And then we introduced a formatting tag into our paragraph element to make the content text bold, right? We can do the same thing on this first text by adding emphasis to it. Emphasis, basically what the emphasis tag does basically is the EM element represents stress emphasis of its content. What it basically does is it makes the element italicized, right? I'll show you alternate tags for each of this. The strong, that's to make elements bold and to make it this thing. So let's see what this looks like. If I reload this, you notice that first just became, you know, if I zoom into that now, we can see that first is in italics, and then content is bold, right? If I'm going to write this again and replace the EM tag with I also stands for italics, and replace the strong tag with B. B stands for bold. These are also formatting tags that can be used in place of either EM or strong, right? But EM and strong are more, they are new tags that came out in HTML5, and yeah, it does a good job of representing, but either of them can be used. So if we look at this, if I reload this, notice that the browser renders the EM tag here and the I tag here as the exact same thing, and the strong tag here and the bold tag here as the exact same thing. The final formatting tag I'm going to talk about is Now, I know it's getting cumbersome, you know, writing everything right now in a line, and you're probably beginning to see too many tags, right? Pardon me, but yeah, when you look at it closely again, you'll be able to spot each and every one of them apart. So the U tag is called the underline element, right? It's for the underline element, and what that will do is it's going to draw a line under the R text. So look at that. Let's reload and see. So you can see that here, right? So I think we've actually we've downloaded a lot already, especially when it comes to the implementation, right? What we're going to have a project actually to work on that we're still going to collaborate on as the week goes. Like I said, HTML is something that you can learn in a day. Believe me. Like, yes, you might not be a master or a pro at it, but it's something that you can get a hang of in a day. As you can see, we just literally made our very first web page, and your commitment to, you know, practicing, because that is programming for you. Programming is like it's more or less just like learning an instrument. So once you're done with the theory and, you know, the fundamentals, everything boils down to practicing, keep on practicing. That is how you get to learn more HTML elements, more tags. You know, in our next class, we are going to look at attributes, right? But before then, we must have been very comfortable with elements. Now, notice I have not shown an exception to, you know, the element structure that we analyzed, which is the ones I called the self-closing tags. Now, that is going to be part of your project too. So you're going to, that's what we basically have here. This site is going to help you. There is, you know, there's no need hoarding knowledge. Most of these things are available online. My job here actually is to try and break these things down to the very, you know, to the actual basics. You know, there are a lot of tutorials, web tutorials out there, but a lot of them don't do a good idea of giving people, like, you know, a top-down overview of what HTML and CSS is like and why things are the way they are. So you can look up these sites that I included here to see more examples of HTML elements, of tags, you know, explore HTML. And that is actually going to help you for the project that you're going to undertake. That project is going to be, for now, like your first project is going to be building your first web page. What is that web page going to be? You are going to build, drum roll please, this page. Now, before you probably start shooting me and crucifying me that, you know, like, we don't even know how to add images yet. We don't know how to do this. We don't know how to do that. How do I position? How do I make the page look this fine? You are not supposed to make the page to look as beautiful as this. This is your main, this is going to be your main project for the week. And we are going to build this project together on the EduStart platform. So I'm going to be posting, you know, short things to help us from how to add images, you know, answering your questions, whatever questions you may have and everything. And then we eventually build this web page, yeah, before the next class. And building this web page, you would have touched attributes before we actually start talking about it in the next class. What you're going to do in the end would not be as perfect as this. It will not be close to being perfect because you're going to be using only HTML. So it's just going to look very, you know, what I'm looking at is your usage of the HTML elements and the tags that are available to you. So before you do this, Yeah, it's going to look very ew. That's Harold. But yeah, but before you do this, like I said, this is your major project. Your assignment, which is I'm going to post the assignment on the EduStart platform. So you do that up, you do that, you work on that, and your assignment is actually going to be due by this weekend. So yeah, that is probably going to be Friday or Saturday. So like I said, this is the Google homepage is your project, right, for the week. But your assignment is going to be, you're going to replicate this web page that we created. Now, feel free to, put in whatever content you want to put in. You don't have to put in larger heading, smaller heading. I just use this for this thing. But I just need your first web page, just the same way we did this. Create a folder, create your HTML file, open it in your text editor, type in the HTML structure the way we have it. The slides are going to be shared also on the platform, so you can have a reference too. So type this. And one very important thing to note, please be very careful of indentation. Now, notice if I had written my code like this, without any form of spaces or of spacing or indentation, I want you to look at how difficult it would have been to read, right? So you won't even know where something is starting and where it's ending. And the more large your code base gets, right, the more lines of code you start writing, you'll probably start hallucinating and a whole lot of stuff. So please, indentation is very important, right? Please indent your code. You can do that by pressing tab, right, on a particular line. Just tab till you indent your code fully, right? So indent your code. Indentation shows hierarchy, right? In this case, the way I indented this shows that the head element and the body element, right, are all inside what? HTML element. And the title element is inside the H element. And the H1 is inside the body element, and the H6 and P and P. Now, it also gives a sense of relationship between the elements. You can say that the HTML is the parent element, and the head and the body elements that are inside it are the children of the HTML elements, where the head and the body elements are siblings. As you can see, they are on the same they are on the same level hierarchically. They are not inside one another, right? And then in the same vein, you also have the title element as a child to the head element, because it's inside the head element, right? If you want to get funny with it, you could just say the title element is the grandchild of the parent element, but that does not apply in this case. Just know that there is a parent-child relationship. The parent-child relationship of the element becomes more visual when you indent, right? So here you can see that all these H1, H6, and the P elements are all siblings of the body elements, right? So yeah, and the EM element is a sibling of what? The P element. So yes, your assignment is going to be to replicate your first web page, right? Submissions is going to be made on the EduStart platform. Yeah, and yes, that's just basically it. Your project is going to be this Google homepage, and like I said, don't be scared. We are going to build it together. Like, we are literally going to be building it together, right? It's not going to look as beautiful as this. That is a promise, actually, but it will be pretty close. You'll be proud of yourself once you're done with it. So your assignment duplicates this web page that we've just done in class, and we'll look forward to working on this project as we go along down to probably next week's class, because next week's class is going to talk about attributes. So yeah, we're probably going to build this gradually until we can get this off the road. Okay, I think I can stop sharing my screen here, and I'll just leave this few minutes that we will have now. If you have any questions whatsoever, like you have questions, you have comments, you have concerns, please feel free to share in right now just before we close. Anyone? Harold, Olumide, Damilola. That one person has been with us, but I haven't gotten a response. Grace Adewumi. She here? Okay. So in the appreciated, Harold, appreciated. So in the absence of any more comments or questions, please let's very much use the EduStart platform. Like that is basically where we are going to be. Like if you have questions after this, maybe you're trying to set up your Notepad++, or you're trying to download VS Code and you're having issues, or you have questions as to how to, do the assignments or start work on the project, building your WordPress web page, you want to know more information, basically anything, I am going to be available to answer your questions on the EduStart platform. So thank you for your time. Thank you for attending the class, everyone that attended, and look forward to going on this journey with you all. Okay, bye now.